All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live stream. Yeah. If you want to grab a beverage with me, some seltzer water, some LaCroix, or some coffee, tea, whatever your beverage of choice is, come back, settle in, and let's chat about full time creatives, photographers, and filmmakers both. That's obviously my specialty. That's where I am in my business. So I'm going to be specifically talking to those areas of expertise, and the things I talk about are going to be applicable to folks who are maybe in other creative industries, such as like graphic design or marketing, things like that. But really going to be heavily focused, obviously, on filmmaking and photography. So thanks for joining. Let me queue up some of the questions. Oh, hey, if you have questions, go ahead and start dropping those into the live stream, to the comments section, so that I can start answering some of those. But I've got questions from folks who've either DM'd me or emailed me, and I want to get to those ones as well, as maybe more folks start to join in. Maybe first and foremost, I'll give you a quick backstory on my story. I don't think I've shared all of that in a video, and I hope to do that more here soon. Quick backstory: I started doing filmmaking in 2014, shot my first wedding, did weddings. A lot of folks do weddings. So if that's something that you're doing right now and you want to move beyond that, just know that that's definitely possible, and that weddings are a great place to begin and get started, um, which is awesome. Can you guys hear me okay? Is the volume? Let me check. Let me make sure that. Let me adjust that real quick. One sec. Ooh. All right, how about that? All right, let's see. Volume's good. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, so my backstory: filmed weddings, did weddings for about 2 years, maybe 3 years. Wasn't planning on staying in weddings. I did enjoy working with the couples, but obviously, if you've done weddings before, you know how stressful it can be. And I really wanted to get out of that particular kind of stress of like the day of, and you can't make any mistakes. And so I started looking for opportunities to do nonprofit and corporate gigs. So I actually met somebody at my church who was involved in a school here, a nonprofit, and I just basically pitched him one day. I was just talking to him in a conversation, and was just like, "What would it look like for me to be able to come out and make a video for you guys in your school, and how could that help in your marketing efforts and things like that?" And he thought it was a great idea. And so that's where I really emphasize for people to, if you're struggling to get clients or to get projects, just consider the conversations that you have with people on a regular basis, people that are already within your circle, and just kind of like not sell them, but just kind of pitch them on an idea of what would it look like if I help create a video for your organization, for your business, for your nonprofit. What would that look like, and how could that help you? I really spent a lot of time having those kinds of conversations with people from the very beginning, and that's what allowed me to kind of really get the ball rolling in terms of building my portfolio, and starting to have something that I could show people. And I think after I shot that project, then he came back around like 2 months later. He really liked the video and was like, "I want to pay you for the next video," which that was an awesome feeling. And then from there, he then referred me to somebody else, and I got paid, I think, for that next job, 4 digits. I think I got paid $1,500, maybe $2,000, and that's when like the light bulb like really went off in me, and was like, wow, I can get paid pretty decent to make videos for people. I don't know where all my clients are going to come from, but I can actually get paid some decent money. Um, Now, at the time, I was in marketing. I was doing marketing work, so I was working for somebody else. I was working for a small business and another entrepreneur, and that was helpful. And this is going to lead into a question that somebody actually had recently asked me, which is like, on this journey, on this path, like there's multiple ways you can kind of arrive at where I'm at now. But what would I recommend? Would I recommend working for somebody? Would I recommend going to college? Would I recommend um, getting a mentor? Those kind of things. First and foremost, college. I don't think college is worth the amount that you have to pay for it. I'm not saying college isn't worth it. I just think that it's not worth it to go into debt for college because I don't think the results in the filmmaking and photography world are going to be any different having gone to college. Nobody asked me if I have a college degree. I do have a college degree. I went for journalism because school was paid for me. I was lucky enough that I have folks who parents who paid for my college and saved for it ahead of time. So I just went ahead and did it and got my degree and left. But I wouldn't recommend anybody going into tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt to do filmmaking and photography. Like it's just not. I don't think it's worth it. So I wouldn't go that path necessarily, but I would definitely try and find somebody to work for. So whether it's a filmmaker or photographer locally in your area who's maybe several steps ahead of you or has an established business, is looking for a second shooter, is looking for somebody to come on board with them, I would definitely encourage you to try that out because what that's going to do is it's going to give you a safety net. You're going to be employed either contractually, as a contractor or as an actual employee. That's going to give you a safety net because you're going to be generating income versus trying to go and find clients and generate income doing that, which is more difficult. But work with somebody and learn the process from start to finish of going and selling, going and getting a client. Excuse me. Of once you get that client, how do you even prepare for the shoot? How do you do a creative brief? How do you do a storyboard and that kind of stuff? And then going and filming and editing and doing the entire process. So if you can go and work with somebody and do the reps, get the reps in doing that entire process, that is going to be very, very like that's going to speed you up tremendously versus you trying to go and get a client, possibly fumbling that project a little bit, struggling through that, having some issues, like struggle through it with somebody else who's already established and already knows what they're doing. Struggle through that with them and let them teach you and work with them and be a good employee or be a good contractor. And then once you've learned everything that you need to know and you have some potential at getting some clients, then just tell them, hey, thank you so much. It's been awesome. I love it, but I'm going to go off and I'm going to do this on my own. That's totally fine. Like I said, I worked for an entrepreneur in marketing, so I didn't learn filmmaking, obviously, or photography there, but I did learn how to work with clients. I learned how to get clients. I learned how to manage clients and do account management, how to deal with conflict. I learned all those things from him, and that was invaluable. And then from there, I did start my own business doing filmmaking first, but then I did go and work at an agency and I started video for that agency. So this agency was about 30 people or 35 people. It was more of a design marketing agency than it was, filmmaking or media. But I came in offering filmmaking services through that agency. And that agency, again, didn't teach me filmmaking, but they did teach me a lot more about the sales process. They did open my eyes to how you could work with specific clients that they were already doing design work for and marketing work for, how I could integrate myself into businesses and organizations and be a valuable asset to them. That's something that was really really neat, and I took away almost 3 years of experience from that organization that I've applied to my business now that I've had for 3.5 years, going on 4 years. So I do think it's valuable to work for somebody that'll speed you up. If you don't want to work for somebody, or maybe you have a few clients or some revenue generated already, then look for a mentor. That's something that I'm actually investing in right now myself, even though I am like 9 years into this entire journey. I'm actually paying for a mentor and a coach right now, who's actually several steps ahead of me because I see the value in mentorship. I see the value in somebody kind of holding you accountable, somebody asking you the hard questions, somebody who's going to challenge you. That's the thing is when you're getting started, you have a lot of questions and you need those questions answered. You can find a lot of those answers here on YouTube, but there's something powerful about somebody who's already been there, already experienced it, already done it, and can speak to the fears or the questions of the things that you're experiencing. So I think a mentor is really, really crucial, and I would encourage folks to try and find a mentor. If you can't go work for somebody, try and find somebody who would mentor you. I think that's going to be really valuable. And then hey, just a quick reminder, if you guys have questions, drop those questions in the live, and I'll make sure to answer those. But then beyond that, like courses, let's talk about courses. So somebody asked me what courses would I recommend. I haven't taken too many courses. I did have a Skillshare account for a little while, and I really didn't do that much with it. Skillshare is very big and broad. I wouldn't really recommend that one. If you're doing filmmaking, then I would consider full time filmmaker. I've done a few things here and there several years ago. I think I bought like a portion of their stuff here and there, not the full thing. But I think if you're really getting started into filmmaking and you haven't had a lot of experience, I think full time filmmaker could do you a lot of good. If you're further along in your journey, I don't know how much value there is there. But I think another one that would be valuable for both photographers and videographers, filmmakers, is Creative Live. So there's some unique courses on Creative Live, and again, I'm not endorsed by any of these folks, so there's not going to be a promo code or anything. So um, I do think Creative Live would be valuable for a lot of people. I think it would be valuable even for me. I think there are some courses and some stuff on there, some content on there that would really open up your eyes to what you could be doing in your business to make your business either full time, to go from just a hobby to not just a side hustle, but to full time. I think there's content on there that's useful. So those are the ones that I would recommend. Again, I don't know much beyond that if I would really recommend a ton beyond it. All right, let me look and see what were some of the other questions that folks were asking. Yeah, should you work for someone? Talked about that. Oh, how do you price? How do you price your videography and photography? Man, this is one that I keep wanting to produce several videos about it because I feel like it's just such an in-depth thing. Like pricing is such an in-depth thing that it's really hard to put that into like one video. It would have to be like a masterclass kind of video, and even then, I don't know if it could cover all of it. But here's the short part of pricing. What you need to do is definitely consider how much you want to get paid, and then you need to consider how much it costs you to produce the work. So let's consider it's a project that's going to take you 10 hours. You're going to go film with a client for 3 hours. It's going to take you 5 hours to edit. That may be pretty quick, but it's going to take you 5 hours to edit, and then maybe 2 hours for communication and everything else. So let's say 10 hours. You might just consider, oh, well, I would love to get paid $50 an hour or $75 an hour. So I'll just multiply that by, that amount. And that's how much I'm going to charge. But you really need to sit back for a moment and consider how much is it going to cost you to actually do that project. So think about your music licensing, if you're going to use a music licensing website, or if you already have one like Epidemic Sound or Artlist, or if you use multiple. I have multiple. I have Epidemic Sound, Artlist. What else do I have? Music Bed. So I need to consider that cost, that's going to go into actually producing on this project. And then I need to think about my cameras and stuff. Kind of think about the depreciation of cameras. I know that kind of starts to get convoluted when I say the word depreciation, but think about using a camera for 2 years. I think is probably a good runtime for a camera. After 2 years, you're probably looking to get a different camera. So depreciate that camera over 2 years. So if the camera costs you $3,000 over 2 years, every year it's kind of going down. You're not going to totally lose the entire value, but it's going to go down probably at least $1,500, $2,000 in value. Hopefully not, but let's just say that. So that's going to cost you $1,000 this year, and for this project that you're going to be working on this month, $1,000. Consider maybe $80 for the camera. So just kind of run some math on that. Like what's all the gear that you're going to be using on that project, and consider and everything that, like I said, music licensing that's going to go into that, everything that's going to go into that project, gas, if you're going to eat a meal while you're gone and working on that project, things like that. That is all going to factor into your cost. And normally, when I'm working with people and I'm just talking to folks who are just getting started, they're not considering those costs. So they may just throw out a random number like I want to get paid $50 an hour, but they're not understanding that maybe their costs are going to be really, really close to what they're just charging at their hourly rate. And so at the end of it, let's say that maybe you charged $1,000 for that video and your costs were $500. Is making $500 profit, is that good enough for you? Because remember that $500, you're also going to have to pay taxes on that, you know. So if you're looking at 300 or 350, is that worth it for you? And I would say for most folks, no, it's not. 350 at the end of the day is not worth it for you. It's not sustainable for you. So when you're thinking about pricing, don't just assign an arbitrary hourly rate. Really think about your costs first and how much that's going to go in, and then think about how much profit you want to make. So if you say this project's going to cost me $500, if I price it at $1,000, then I'm only going to make $500 in profit. I'm going to be taxed on that, and I'm only going to keep, say, 350. Okay, that's not enough. So I really want to have profit around $1,000. So if it's going to cost me $500 and I want a profit of $1,000, I need to price that at $1,500. And then is that feasible for the client? Do I really think that's feasible for the client? Um, I would encourage most people right now that clients who see the value in photography and video, clients who really want it, and like I said, see the value in it, they're willing to pay for it. And the struggle is not with them paying for it. The struggle is with us pricing it accordingly, where we're actually recognizing the value that we're giving them. So the struggle is with us and not so much with them. It's like we're afraid of increasing our price because we don't think they're going to pay for it. But in reality, a lot of clients who are coming to you and see the value in video and your photos, the value is there, and because the value is there, you can charge what you need to charge for it. Recently, I've increased my pricing. I even went to my biggest retainer client and actually just asked like when it came time to reevaluate that retainer. I was like, it needs to go up. It's got to go up. And so we had some conversation, and they ended up saying, okay, well, we've actually budgeted an additional $20,000 every year more than what we are currently doing. Obviously, the deliverables are going to go up a little bit, but just having a conversation with a client and talking to them some more allowed for me to figure out that, hey, we can actually do more, and there's more value here. And because there's more value here, I can get paid more. And so all of a sudden, there's 20,000 more dollars um, from that retainer. So just having a conversation, normally pricing and getting your pricing up, there's not a magic formula there. It's literally just having more and better conversations with clients, asking better questions of them, and like, where are you going to use this? How do you want to use this? Can we repurpose this stuff and give you more value and use this video over multiple platforms? Or if it's photography, can we create a bunch of photos, a full entire library that you could use on social media? Explaining what you can do with your work, and sharing that and opening their eyes up to the possibilities. And they're not just thinking about, oh, just 10, like 10, we're just going to get 10 images, or we're going to get just one video, but really open their eyes up to what's possible. Then you can start to charge more. And so that's kind of, like I said, there's so much that we could unpack on pricing. Don't have enough time for it today, but those are some key points on pricing to really think about. Make sure that like I said, make sure that you know your costs, because if you don't know your costs, you don't know what your profit is, and if you don't know what your profit is, you don't know if your business is truly, if what you're doing is really successful. And at the end of the day, yes, I know it's not all just about the numbers, but if your numbers can be good to sustain you, then I mean, let's just be honest. If you're sustained in this work, then you're going to find more joy in it, and you're not going to be worried about having to go and find another job, or still having to work a second job to make this possible. So pricing is important. Pricing is something that you need to be challenged on, and that's one of those areas that I said, like, a mentor could really help you, challenge you on your pricing. I'm being challenged on that right now from my mentor of, you've got to get your pricing up. Your pricing's got to match the quality and the value that you're giving to your clients. All right. Skypath Studios, who actually asked several of these questions, hey, has joined. Welcome. When you reach out to people, should you offer a free video first, or show your portfolio and give your rates? I would never lead with a free video. Again, I would just have a conversation with them and get to know like what are they looking for, what do they want. Ask questions about like, do you guys have any budget? Okay, you want a 2 minute explainer video, or you want a 2 minute about us video, or you want a 1 minute promo or a 30-second promo. That's awesome. What would that look like? What would that involve? Okay, great. Ask lots of questions. And once you find out, like, okay, that's going to require us to maybe shoot multiple products, or we're going to need to shoot 3 different interviews, and then I'm going to shoot B-roll for like another 2 hours. Finding out all those details is going to be really helpful because that's going to pull more out of the client, and then the client's going to start to understand how much is involved in that project. And that's a big deal, is because a lot of times clients initially are just going to think, oh, it's just a video. Cool. You're just going to bring your little camera along. You're going to make a little video and we're going to share it. They're not really understanding the full scale of what's required to make a good video that you're going to bring. You can make a good video. You can make a good video with this. I'm just joking about a point and shoot. But you're gonna emphasize something like, I'm gonna bring 2 cameras. I shoot on Canon C70, or I shoot on an R5, or I shoot on a Sony A7 III, whatever it is. We're gonna use 2 cameras. We're gonna bring in some lighting. We're gonna shoot good interviews with quality audio. Walking them through the entire process. Boom! All of a sudden, their eyes are opened to your process, and that it's not just you just walking in with a tripod and a point shoot and making a video. It's crazy that some clients may think that way, but that's just the reality. Is people, they know that they can make videos on their phone, so sometimes they don't understand the full scale of making a good video. And so through us asking questions and through us sharing the process, now they're understanding what all is involved. And when they understand what's all involved, then they see that there's more value there. They still may not be able to pay for it. That's fine. They still may not be able to pay for it, but now they know that you are a professional, that you are a true creative. You're not just somebody's cousin with a camera. And then once they know that, then you can start to ask the question of like, okay, now that you know all that's involved, how much do you think you would spend on that, or how much have you budgeted to spend on that? And they might come back and say $300, $500. They might come back and say, well, we could spend $1,000, we could spend $2,000. You need to just get comfortable with asking that. They may say like, we don't know, I don't know, we haven't really talked about how much we would spend on that. So like I said, I wouldn't go into it saying I'm going to do this for free. Go into it asking good questions, and then ask them if they budgeted for this. And if they give you a number, great, then you can kind of negotiate from there. But if they don't give you a number, I still at that point wouldn't say I'm going to do it for free. Maybe say, okay, I would typically charge $1,000 for this, but since I really want to do this project, and I know you guys really want to do this and see this like work for you, since I would normally charge 1,000, I'm going to actually just charge you guys $500. Okay, so I'm going to give you a discount. And so that's an approach that you can take. And then when you invoice them, show them that discount. Don't forget about it. So when you invoice them, show them $1,000 less the $500 discount, and you're going to charge them $500. That way, they know that your work is actually valued at $1,000, but you're giving them a discount. And so in the future, when they come back, they know that, hey, that specific video actually really costs $1,000 to make, not just 500, but really $1,000 to make. And also, if they refer you to other people, they're going to also tell people, like, this video that he made for me or she made for me really costs $1,000, versus them going off and telling people that you only charge $500. So that's something that I would recommend from an approach standpoint about pricing. It's okay to do some free work, but I would just not go into it immediately saying, I'll do this for free. Jumping to that immediately. Talk through it with the client, then ask them if they have budgeted anything for it, rather than just saying, I'll do it for free. Because you'd be surprised how many people who have some funds and have the ability to actually pay you. All right. Let's see. How do you get retainer clients, and where do you find them? So retainer clients are clients that I have basically on a monthly basis. We have a contract typically for an an annual contract that renews every year. And that is going to be the best way to have ongoing revenue that you can plan on, that you can plan for every year. And every single month, you know that you're going to send an invoice for that amount of money. You're going to get paid that. And that's how I'm able to establish the salary that I have. That's how I'm able to take care of my family, have a wife and 2 kids. My wife doesn't work. So having retainer clients allows me to be able to plan for that revenue and know that I can actually make a living doing this and not be worried every single month about where is the next project going to come from. So how do you get retainer clients? This is definitely one of the most important and one of the most difficult things. Retainer clients are going to come from organizations, businesses that see the value in ongoing content, whether that's photos or videos or both. These organizations have to have a decent amount of money that they could spend for marketing. So this can't just be like small shops. Unless they see the value in that and unless they're willing to pay for it. Some may be willing to pay for it, but I bet you it's not going to be more than $500 to $1,000 a month, and they're probably going to ask a lot of you. Um, it's fine. It's fine if you want to get established and start that way. But I'm just saying, if you do a retainer for like $500 a month and they ask you for a ton of stuff, it's going to bury you in a lot of work. But you want to find organizations that can pay for it and see the value of ongoing content. And if the organization doesn't see the value yet, again, that's where you need to have a conversation with them of explaining. If you just publish one video a month on your platforms, on social media, YouTube, wherever you want to publish your content, that's not going to be enough. You're not going to see ROI from that. But if you were to publish like 3 videos a week or 2 videos a week, on an ongoing basis, you're going to see ROI, and it's really going to really start to pay for itself. So again, not every organization is going to see the value in this, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of organizations that see and know and understand the value in ongoing content. They've woken up to that reality that they have to stay active and stay in front of people. And that's where you need to speak to them in those regards. Most organizations have a communications director, marketing director, a creative director, but most organizations don't have a photographer on staff. They don't have a videographer on staff. They don't have somebody to create that content. So a lot of times they have to go out to agencies or they have to get contractors to do the work. They don't have the time to create. And if they are trying to create, then that's something that's sucking their time from them. And that's where you can come in and add value. So you've got to try and sell them on that, is that ongoing content is the only way that you're going to do well on social media and other platforms. And I know that you don't have enough time to do that. So why don't you allow me to help you offload that, and I'll take care of the content for you. And then all you have to do is just grab it and post it when you're ready to go. So that's how I would try and sell to people. Um, the places where I find that retainers are great are, like I said, for organizations that have a pretty healthy marketing budget. So look at maybe higher education, like universities, colleges, tech colleges, community colleges, things like that. Again, it's going to be, I know it's going to be more difficult to get into those places and figure out how you can even get a conversation, but maybe find them on LinkedIn, send them a message, send them an email. You can try and find their email online and send them an email and kind of send them a pitch, send them a pitch letter or a pitch email. Basically, just try to get a conversation with them. Don't try and twist their arm or sell them too hard. Just simply try to get a conversation, have just a meeting time with them. Because if you can just get a meeting time with them and ask questions and just listen to them, they're gonna be way more open to the ideas that you have. So yeah, higher education. I have a higher education client that's awesome that I work with on retainer every single month. Tech companies are everywhere. So small tech companies, medium, there's just tech companies everywhere and they need ongoing content. So look around the area for tech companies that could really utilize this. And then here's another good idea that's actually worked really well for me. Find somebody in an adjacent market. And what I mean by that is somebody who's like in marketing, who's in PR, public relations. These folks who already work with clients, they already have clients that they work with, but they don't do the work that you do. So there's a lady in town who's in PR and she has her own PR firm, but she doesn't create content. She just helps them with their messaging. She just helps them with their posting. She just helps them kind of be consistent in how they project their brand. But then when she's having conversations with clients about creating content, she brings that conversation back to me. And she basically sells me in her own meetings. And then later she just sends me an email and said, "Hey, I was talking to such and such client and they need a video or they need several videos or they need photos." I've gotten I have legitimately gotten probably close to $80,000 from just that one lady over the last 2 years, just from her referring her clients to me. So find organizations, find agencies, find people who do public relations, PR, marketing, anything that's an adjacent to what you do, but they don't actually create the content. Um, find them, get to know them, take them out to dinner, take them out for drinks, whatever you can do to get to know them and help show them that you can be a valuable asset to their organization. And then because you're valuable to them and they're more valuable to their clients, that is how you're going to be able to be able to get clients from them. Because the reality is those folks, they understand the value in ongoing content. The client may not understand fully, but those PR and marketing folks, they know that those clients have to have ongoing content. So those folks are typically consistently looking for good content. So if you can come in and be that vendor for them, then all of a sudden you're not even having to interface with the client. You're just interfacing with the PR and marketing firm, and you're just basically helping and taking the good that that organization has already established. And yeah, I mean, that is a way that has been just totally tremendous for my business. And I would encourage a lot of you all to, if you're struggling to find and go to the clients to actually get the work, go to the PR and marketing folks, get to know them, and then see if they'll push work your way. So yeah, that's one that I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on. I feel like that's one that a lot of people don't talk about because not a lot of people have actually done that. So that is a tactic. Woo, man, that is a tactic that really works. Find your PR and marketing folks in your area and get to know them and show them how you can provide value. I promise that will work for sure. So, all right, we are at 12:03. All right, I'm gonna answer a few more really quick and then wrap up this live stream and save some stuff for a future live stream. All right, what gear do I use? So I'm really into Canon now. I used to shoot Sony 4 years ago. I mean, Sony's got a lot going for it. Back in the day, or back in the day, 4 years ago, I just didn't feel like their color science was that great. They have changed it since then. I feel like Canon's colors and just the reliability on the colors and everything is great for me. I really enjoy it. So I use a Canon C70, Canon R5 for B cam and photos. Took me a while to be able to get the Canon C70. I had a Canon C200. I purchased both of them used on mpb.com. So I didn't pay full price for them. Love Canons. I also use, I really like Nanlite, the brand Nanlite for my lights. I have used Aperture. It's really good too. I just find that recently Nanlite's been producing really good lights and they're slightly more affordable than Aperture. So I've just gone with them recently. What else do I use? I use Mac, all Mac stuff for editing and all of my computers and all that kind of stuff. So I have an iMac that I purchased 3 years ago, still doing great. I maxed out the RAM. It's got 64 gigs of RAM, and I maxed out the graphics. So it's still my main editing machine. And the reason for that is just I come home and I like to edit from my actual desk and use the iMac and the big 5K screen. But I do have a MacBook Pro that I got last year. So I have a MacBook Pro that I got last year for on the go edits and photos whenever I travel. So yeah, Canon cameras, Nanlite lights. As far as audio is concerned, I've used Rode a lot. So Rode Video, my VideoMic Pro for shotgun, or yeah. And then for my boom mic is an NTG4 Plus. I'm probably going to upgrade that one to a Sennheiser soon. But the NTG4 Plus has done pretty good. And then the most recent one, which I don't have it up here, it's in my Pelican, is the Lav by a company called Tentacle. It's a Tentacle Sync. Um, that lav is amazing. It's $300, so it's a pretty pricey. I don't know if that's that pricey, but it's a pretty pricey lav. But it's got 32-bit float audio, which is basically like raw audio, which is exceptional for when you're running and gunning, and you don't want to be so worried all the time about are your levels perfect, because if the levels peak or if they're too low, you have so much more flexibility with 32-bit in post production. So if you're as a solo filmmaker or a solo creative, which is what this is all about, as a solo person, you need flexibility. And so I love that little Tentacle lav because it gives me 32-bit floats. And yes, the file sizes are much bigger for the audio, but just having that flexibility in post is a game changer, in case I forget that it's too high or too low. What else am I using gear wise? That's pretty much it. From an editing standpoint, I have big G drives that I keep all my footage stored on my desk that I run into my iMac for editing, and then for just kind of on the go saving on my jobs, I use the SanDisk portable SSDs. I have a bunch of these that I just carry with me. And as far as editing is concerned, I use Adobe. I have considered using a Resolve, and I may do Resolve for some stuff here soon, but all of my workflow and everything is built out in Premiere. And then let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any more questions real quick, I'll give you guys like 3 more minutes of time. If you have more questions, drop those into the comment section and I'll answer those. And if not, I'll save some time, or I'll save some questions for the next live stream. Ultimately, what I want to do with this channel, like I said, if you're just now jumping on, I have 9 years of experience in filmmaking and photography. Started my own business back in 2014. Really started getting going with it in 2016. Then I went and worked in an agency doing filmmaking for them for 3 years, and then left because they weren't taking care of me. They weren't giving me the things that I needed. I left and started my own business with my wife and with a child at the time. I want to emphasize that. Like, I jumped off from my salary job with my wife, who was freaking out, and my daughter jumped out, and that was in 2019, and I never missed my salary, which is incredible. So yeah, I mean, if you're considering jumping off, I wouldn't say bet the farm on jumping off. Make sure that I had some clients that right when I was planning to jump off, they committed to me that they were going to spend like $3,000-4,000. So I knew I had a little bit of money on a regular basis, and I was able to jump off based on that. But yeah, if you don't have any clients who are willing to pay you on an ongoing basis, it's going to be a lot harder to try and make that jump. If you're single, by all means, take the risk. But if you're married and you have a child, way more risk that you have to weigh doing that versus versus being single. Jared has got a question. Any recommendations on a good shotgun mic under $300? I think Rode has some, like the TheoMic Go. I think Sennheiser has some smaller shotgun mics that are right around $300. I think there's also some new brands I think coming out with some audio stuff that's pretty good. What's the channel? DSLR shooter, something like that. That guy's reviewing gear all the time, and he's always opening my eyes to some of the new players on the market. But Rode has some that are definitely under $300. Sennheiser has some that I think are right at $300. And those are kind of the main ones that I know of as far as shotgun is concerned. I don't really honestly use my shotgun that much anymore. I mainly use the internal mics on cameras just for scratch audio. And then, like I said, when I'm doing interviews, I'm either booming with the Rode NTG4 Plus, or I'm using a lav. Like I said, that I use the brand Tentacle, the Sync lav. I'm either just using that lav or using a boom, and then I'm using internal audio for just scratch audio. I'm really not using shotgun mic that much anymore. All right, man, 40 minutes goes quick when you're having fun. Any other questions, folks? Any other questions about clients, getting clients, projects, workflow, anything else? Let me see if there's anything else I think is worth noting. Yeah, if you missed earlier when I was talking about retainer clients, it's very important to get clients to commit to contracts. And bigger organizations are totally fine doing that because they have to have contracts with other vendors that they, like a marketing agency or PR agency or an advertising agency. They're totally used to having contracts. And so that's totally fine with them. And that's amazing because if you can get them into a contract, even if it's just $1,000 a month, $12,000 annually, then you can base a lot of your stuff off of that recurring revenue. So trying to get recurring revenue is so crucial to having a sustainable business. All right, let's see. Anything else? Last thing I'll mention. If you're struggling to get clients, you either need to go and shoot your own stuff. So go and shoot videos that you would love to create and see. Go and shoot your own stuff, or try and find folks that you can shoot stuff. I won't say for free, but for a discount. Go and find people in your sphere of influence or your sphere of friends. Maybe you hang out somewhere that you could, like, maybe a gym, maybe it's a CrossFit gym if you're into that, or like me, I love coffee. So maybe there's a coffee shop locally you could go take photos or videos for. Think about things like that. I would recommend just looking in your sphere of influence, the people that you already know, finding opportunities, asking if you can create something for them. Once you create something for them, adding that to your portfolio immediately, and then building out that portfolio. And that leads into this question that Jeremy had. What hosting do you recommend to show your work? I've always used Vimeo. I know there's a lot of platforms out there, but I love Vimeo because it's just easy to embed on any platform, on any website. So once you're creating your own website, whether that's like WordPress or Squarespace or Wix or whatever, super easy to embed. But then, excuse me, but then you can also just share a link to your Vimeo and have all of your videos there. So even before I had my really nice website developed several years ago, before I even had that nice website, I had all my videos on my Vimeo account, and it's like similar to like a YouTube channel, but you just send them a link to your Vimeo, and they can see all those videos that are public, and boom, that's your portfolio. So I would recommend Vimeo just because it's got a lot of uses versus something like maybe like a Wistia or a Frame.io or something like that. Those tools are a little bit more intensive for like reviewing with clients and collaborating with clients and teams. You can do some of that within Vimeo, which is really nice. But I feel like a lot of organizations and stuff use Vimeo and are familiar with it. So not only do I host my videos on Vimeo, but I also share them on Vimeo to my clients, and they can go in there and actually review them and timestamp their comments. And so I just find that Vimeo just fits into my entire workflow for not only marketing, but also for sending it off to the client and getting their review and feedback. So that's what I've always used. I don't have any plans on changing from it. It's always worked great for the most part, but it's always worked pretty solid. Other than the times when they've been updating Vimeo and made some weird adjustments, it's always been solid and somewhat and fairly affordable. Fairly affordable. So, all right, 43 minutes, almost 45 minutes. I think we're gonna call this one good. So yeah, if you all have questions, hey, I'm always looking for ideas for my next videos. I want to know what you guys are interested in. Obviously, I do enjoy reviewing gear and things that I'm testing. I don't buy tons and tons of gear on a regular basis. I really try and think methodically about what I'm going to purchase and then purchase it. So it's not one of those things where like I'm a gear review channel and I don't want to be that. I want to be more of a channel that uh, shows you and encourages you on the business side of things, and then practically speaking, and then shows you some BTS, but then also shows you some gear. So let me know. You can email me, you can drop comments on videos, and I see all the comments. Let me know some video ideas that you guys would be interested for the future, because that's always helpful for me to make sure that I'm creating content that you all actually want to see. Yeah, cool. So thank you guys guys and gals, everybody who's been here today and everybody who's going to watch it in the future. Thanks for taking the time to spend today, and I hope I gave you some valuable insights and information. Like this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and if you are subscribed, man, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next live stream in the next video. Peace.